The 100th Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces has repelled another large-scale offensive by the occupying Russian army in strategic Toretsk city in eastern Donetsk region. The attack, which took place in the first days of May, was repelled, and Ukrainian fighters launched a counterattack, destroying the reserve forces and equipment that the occupying army had thrown into battle to stabilize the situation. The video posted on Telegram app shows Ukrainian strikes on Russian targets. Despite suffering losses, the Ukrainian defense forces were able to hold their positions with significantly fewer forces and did not allow the invaders to advance towards the city center. According to the information, during the battle, the soldiers of the occupying Russian army managed to capture one of Ukrainian fighters and, under various pressures, are trying to use him for propaganda, thereby presenting the failures in the battles as a tactical victory. It should be noted that suffering heavy losses, Russian army has been trying to completely occupy the city of Toretsk for several months. Being a logistic hub, the city of Toretsk has been a focal point of the Russian advances in eastern Ukraine. In February, the Russian Defense Ministry said its forces had taken control of the coal mining city. However, the Ukrainian military denied these reports. The Ukrainian army says that the city has become an impregnable fortress for the Russian armed forces, facing a situation similar to the difficulties faced by the German army in the city of Stalingrad during World War II.
Ukrainian forces likely advanced into southern Tetkino, a settlement in Russia's Kursk Oblast, according to the Institute for the Study of War (ISW). Russian mill bloggers claimed that Ukrainian units seized up to 2 streets in southern Tetkino and still maintained a presence in the settlement. Some mill bloggers asserted, however, that elements of Russia's 56th Airborne or VDV Regiment, part of the 7th VDV Division, forced the Ukrainians out. In addition to Tetkino, Ukrainian forces reportedly launched mechanized assaults on nearby Novy Put, located east of Tetkino along the international border. Russian sources reported repelling those attacks and stated that Ukrainian troops used mine-clearing equipment to breach defensive lines. One Russian source claimed Ukrainian forces had taken Novy Put, while others said the assault was unsuccessful. ISW has not seen geolocated footage confirming a Ukrainian presence in Novy Put. Meanwhile, elements of the Russian 98th VDV Division are reportedly operating near Tetkino, according to Russian mill bloggers. Russia continues to keep its troops in the Kursk region near the Ukrainian border. Military expert Andrei Kramarov spoke about this on Channel 24. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are forced to take certain actions there aimed at preventing a possible attack on our border. After all, for us, the expansion and increase of the front line will be very difficult, and we need to counteract this. Therefore, certain counter-offensive measures are taking place there, the expert said. He noted that the enemy retains about 60,000 of its troops, whom they had previously transferred to the Kursk region to drive out the Ukrainian defense forces from there. They have stretched them out a bit, but the threat to our border continues to exist. We see how active the strikes are being carried out by both aviation and operational tactical missiles on Sumy and Kharkiv regions, Kramarov added. In late March, Russian Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov, talking to Russian President Vladimir Putin, claimed that Russian forces have completely liberated Kursk Oblast from Ukrainian troops. Ukraine, however, continues to control small parts of Kursk Oblast, conducted small-scale incursions into nearby Belgorod Oblast, and now also attack Tetkino in southwestern Kursk Oblast. The Russian military-industrial complex is a feeding trough for Putin's officials. For example, Putin's inner circle is responsible for the missile component in Russia. Interestingly, among them is a makeup artist, the daughter of one of the officials. This is stated in the material of Channel 24, Terror Industry. How many Kh-101 missiles does Russia plan to produce in 2025? Investigation. The Tactical Missiles Corporation, or KTRV, is one of the largest players in the Russian defense industry. Putin's friends and their children are involved in its operation. Legally, KTRO is 100% owned by the Federal Agency for State Property Management and is one of the main suppliers of weapons and components for Russian aviation. Almost all enterprises included in the holding are engaged in the manufacture of components for the production of a huge number of weapons. Cruise missiles 3M14 caliber, Kh-101, Kh-38, Kh-59 and Kh-69 and other products. The chairman of the board of directors of the corporation is Boris Gryzlov. He was the representative of Russia in the Trilateral Contact Group for the peaceful settlement of the situation in the east of Ukraine, is the chairman of the Supreme Council of United Russia and the current ambassador of Russia to Belarus. KTRV CEO Boris Obnosov is a former employee of the Russian permanent mission to the UN and a confidant of Putin. His daughter, makeup artist Olga Zorikova, has a 40% stake in one of her father's companies. Last year, Mikhail Kolesnikov, director of TRV Engineering, was arrested on suspicion of embezzling 40 million rubles. But the criminal case does not prevent him from continuing to actively work to secure Russian defense contracts. The very fact of the businessman's detention indicates that the Kremlin was dissatisfied with the results of the missile attacks on Ukraine. However, since the purchasing company is a pocket feeding trough for Putin's entourage, the activist will not be punished. However, involvement in the manufacture of deadly missiles with which Russia strikes Ukraine makes Kolesnikov, Zorikova, as well as all other employees of TRV-Engineering, not only legitimate targets for our defense forces, but also accomplices in international crimes, the article says.